This is the Pentagon, the world's most important shape and headquarters of the United States Department of Defense. Inside this single building is the head of the Army, the head of the Navy, the Marines, the Air Force, the National Guard, the Coast Guard, most of our 4-star generals, pretty much all of our classified military secrets, an inexplicably large archive of UFO videos, and one Dunkin' Donuts. Now, if you're the United States, it's very much in your best interest for this building to not explode, given that would leave Arlington with only 15 remaining Dunkin' Donuts. And it shouldn't come as a surprise that, given the stakes, the Pentagon is one of the most secure buildings in the entire world. But then again, it kind of just looks like a normal office building, so what exactly does the Pentagon do to keep all 5 of its sides intact? When the Pentagon was first constructed, security was not the top priority. It was built as quickly as possible so as to speed up the killing of Nazis, and was built as cheaply as possible because we needed high-quality steel to kill Nazis with. At the time, FDR was like, it's fine, surely no one will invent terrorism and blow up the Pentagon. Now, fast forward about 5 decades to 1990, and the US Department of Defense is under attack. Not by terrorists, but by asbestos. This required tearing down this wedge of the Pentagon and rebuilding it from scratch, so the DoD said, hey, if we're gonna rebuild this part of the Pentagon from scratch, let's build it with experimental world-class anti-terrorism measures, just for fun. And so they did, completing construction in 2001, just in time for Al-Qaeda to take it for a test run. Fortunately enough, the plane that crashed into the Pentagon just so happened to crash into the special anti-terrorism wedge, which is the last wedge you'd want to crash into if you're trying to do terrorism. The outer walls of Wedge 1 had been reinforced with steel beams with a Kevlar mesh stretched between them that prevented the destroyed portions of the walls from becoming deadly shrapnel. Every window was made out of an 1.5-inch thick pane of explosive-resistant glass that weighed 500 pounds, and none of them managed to shatter, even though they were literally hit by an airplane. The DoD looked at this and said, well, we should probably put that stuff in all the other parts of the Pentagon, and thus Project Phoenix was born. Apart from renovating the building itself, this massive effort to turn the Pentagon into one of the world's most secure buildings largely focused on the area surrounding the Pentagon. 2 of the Pentagon's biggest vulnerabilities, for example, were here and here. For one, there was a metro station that fed directly into the area under the Pentagon, so that entrance was closed to keep all access points to the Pentagon above ground. The other problem was right here, Route 110. At the time, this unrestricted highway passed directly next to the Pentagon, which meant that vehicles carrying anything scary, like bombs or clowns, could get within meters of the building without undergoing any kind of security screening. To remedy this problem, the Department of Defense had the entire highway rerouted through the Pentagon's north parking lot, creating a sort of force field around the building where no bombs or clowns could enter without passing through a security checkpoint. So that's the underground and above ground secure, but what about the above ground? Well, that's where everyone's favorite integrated air defense system, the National Capital Region Integrated Air Defense System, comes in. Across the river here are a whole bunch of radars, cameras, and other sensors that watch the airspace over DC and much of Virginia and Maryland. If any aircraft enters that space that's not supposed to be there, this airbase will shine a laser at the cockpit that any trained pilot will recognize as, please turn around before we replace this laser with something more explosive. Assuming they don't turn around, the air defense system can then use what they refer to as an engagement asset, which kind of sounds like a beautiful diamond ring, but is actually one of the following missiles. Now, all of these external security features aren't worth much if you manage to get something dangerous, like let's say a small clown holding a bomb, inside the building. And that doesn't seem like it should be all that hard, given that you can just ship stuff there. Like, here's the mailing address for the Secretary of Defense. Go crazy. The Pentagon receives thousands of shipments a day, so how do they stop your mail-bound bomb clown from planting his bomb in the Pentagon? Well, when you ship something to the Pentagon, it doesn't actually go to the Pentagon. It goes here, the Pentagon's remote delivery facility. This was one of the most major renovations of Project Phoenix. One of the Pentagon's parking lots was torn out and replaced with a dedicated mail sorting facility with 38 loading docks that's nearly as big as the Pentagon itself. After arriving at the RDF, each truck is searched with mirrors and then examined by canine teams to check for explosives. The drivers themselves go through a metal detector before they're allowed to open the truck, and finally, everything inside the truck is thoroughly x-rayed. Once the team has removed the bomb from your clown, then the neutralized clown can be sent through a tunnel to the Pentagon itself to do whatever it needs to do at the Pentagon without hurting anyone. So there you go. Successfully infiltrating the Pentagon in the modern age is all but impossible. That is, unless you're this bunny, which somehow in February of 2022 managed to bypass every single security feature that I just described without being detected, and possibly prove that this whole thing doesn't matter and was just a giant waste of money. You know what else is a giant waste of money? Getting food delivered. I know it, you know it, and I know you want to click off of this video because I'm calling you out, but stay with me for a second. I used to be a takeout fiend. It was bad for my wallet, and frankly, it was bad for my health. So then I started doing HelloFresh, and that was great. I did a whole bunch of sponsorships with them and cooked a bunch of great meals, but I didn't always have time to prepare them. That's why when they reached out to me to talk about their other service, Factor, I was 100% on board. Factor offers healthy, pre-prepared, and ready-to-eat meals that fit whatever your lifestyle is. They take the tough stuff out of meal prep with registered dietitians who work hand-in-hand with chefs to deliver fully prepared, nutritious meals made from scratch right to your doorstep. It's so much better for you than takeout, and it's way less wasteful than buying groceries and throwing out all the ingredients you don't end up using. And best of all, Factor is completely customizable. Whether you're vegetarian, pescatarian, on a keto diet, whatever, Factor will have a meal plan that works for you. I've been a genuine customer of Factor for about a year now, and I still eat Factor almost every week. Just tonight I had their black pepper and sage pork chop. It was ready in minutes and still absolutely delicious. If you're interested in trying Factor too, all you have to do is head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code HAI50 to get 50% off your first Factor box.